All right. Here we go, back again on the other side of the coin. All right, welcome back to the other side of the coin, ladies and gentlemen. It's perfect. It's perfect opportunity today to talk about Mason Mount and the contract extension update. But more than that, I think it's perfect opportunity to actually have a good discussion, a good session on Mason Mount. We are not going to talk about anything else for the next half an hour or so. We're specifically going to hone in on everything about Mason Mount and absolutely dissect this situation. We're not going to slander. We're not going to banter. We are going to try and keep things very balanced. We're going to look at the pros, the cons, and really try and get to some sort of a middle ground in regards to Mason Mount. I think far too many times in social media, whether it's in Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, what do you even want to call it, there's one group that hypes up Mason Mount like he's some sort of a phenomenal player, which in my opinion, once upon a time, I probably believed it in the sense that I hoped that he would be. But if I was to assess right now, I don't think he's that phenomenal player. But at the same time, then you have the other spectrum that kind of thinks Mason Mount is some sort of an utter rubbish player, which is completely incorrect. He's not an utter rubbish player. There's good value in Mason Mount. So I think it's somewhere in between, and we're going to talk about all of this. In my honest opinion, and I'm going to touch on this later on as well. As I said, we're going to look at the pros and the cons. I've been always thinking, who's a player that I can compare Mason Mount with? A lot of people, that hype Mason Mount will say, oh, he's like the KDB kind of mold, isn't he? He's a creator. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And then some people will say totally the other opposite, that he's an absolute nobody. And that's not the case either. I sincerely think, and I want you guys to actually think about this, and this is no disrespect one bit. I've actually come to a conclusion. Mason Mount is sort of like a James Milner. Like James Milner, he's someone like he's had an illustrious Premier League career. You would agree. He's had so many different clubs. He's played for over hundreds and hundreds of Premier League games in different clubs as well. He's not really an elite goal scorer, but someone who can score goals. I'm talking about James Milner from the olden days as well, not just now. James Milner's career from the beginning till now. He's someone I feel like, who's not been noted for an elite goal scorer, who's not really been noted for an elite assist maker, but he's industrious. He's fit, he works hard, he's got a great attitude, can chip in with goals, can chip in with assists. I sincerely think probably a James Milner mold of a player. Like that is probably someone that comes to my mind if I think about comparing Mason Mount. It's probably a James Milner kind of a mold, but that's just my opinion. We'll see what you guys have to say. We're going to talk about all of this stuff. As I said, we're going to dissect the whole situation about Mason Mount, look at the pros, cons, and of course, look at the latest news. An article has dropped from The Athletic. Simon Johnson has come up with an article. We'll go through that a little bit and try and get exactly how you guys feel about it as well, which will be interesting to hear. Nearly 100 of you guys are live right now, only 16 likes. Please smash the like button, get those likes up to 100, just like yesterday, just like every other day. We would love to get 100 likes during the live stream, and then anything after that is an absolute bonus. So, and as I keep saying, likes are directly correlated to the growth of the channel. If you enjoy the channel, you enjoy the discussion, and enjoy the interaction that we have, please smash the like button. It just helps out. Okay, now in regards to the news, we've got the Athletic article over here, as you can see. Chelsea and Mason Mount make breakthrough in talks over new contract. I'm not going to go through the entire article. I'm just going to quickly go through some extracts that people like PYS and Simon Phillips has put out. I won't bring it up to the screen. I think you guys have all seen it already, but it goes something like this. Chelsea have made a breakthrough in contract talks with Mason Mount, and there's now real optimism a deal can be struck in January. So obviously there was some rumors in recent times of what's going on with Mason Mount's contract. Is it really happening? Chelsea's apparently looking at contingency plan with scouting other players out there if just in case Mason Mount doesn't agree on the contract extension. But it looks like there's some optimism and it's going to happen. The next set of negotiations is going to be in January. We know very well Mason Mount's looking for a bumper contract. He's a first-team player, a regular first-team player. Whether it's Frank Lampard, whether it's Thomas Tuchel, and now Graham Potter, every single manager has used him regularly and consistently. So he wants to obviously cash in on that, and that's absolutely fine. Further, the article goes on to say, as PYS has quoted it out, the athletic sources say one of the offers to Mason Mount was a 7-year long contract, but he rejected that. 7-year long contract was rejected. First of all, what is Todd Bowley doing with these long-term contracts? I understand you want to protect the value of the player. I completely get it. Like if there's other clubs that down the track potentially want to buy the players, we're going to charge them, an astronomical fee. I understand that. But at the same time, don't you think long-term contracts, it just makes it a bit too relaxing for a player? I don't know. I know some of you guys might say Reece James isn't like that. They should be professional at the end of the day. But I just get the feeling when you hand out a 7-year contract, and I'm pretty certain Mason Mount's looking to, double, maybe even get as close to what Reece James is earning, which is about $250K a week, supposedly, with his latest contract that Reece James had signed. Let's just say, even if it's something around 200 or between 200 to 250K, 7-year contract between 200 to 250K, that's a high caliber of income, man. Where will be the urge? Where will be the urge to go work harder, thrive for a better contract? You're already in such a supreme contract for a 7-year period. Is the drive going to be the same? If it was a shorter contract, 5-year contract, that's generally what happens, right? Less amount of money, then you might create some sort of a hunger in a player that will want to produce at a higher level so that they can get an even better contract down the track. Look, from Mason Mount's point of view, he's actually probably done the right thing. He's probably said to himself, do you know what? I don't want to agree on the 7-year contract, because he probably believes in about 2 to 3 years' time, he's probably going to perform even more, which will be fantastic for us. And that's probably why he's probably thinking, do you know what? I want to demand more money. I want to give myself the opportunity to go again for another contract extension. But when you've signed up a 7-year contract, you kind of, sort of declined your opportunity to go for that second contract extension again, right? 7 years. I think Mason Mount, he's 23, 24. I think he's going towards 24. 7 years will take him about 30, 31 years. And perhaps after that, he doesn't even get a contract extension. Do you know what I mean? So having a shorter contract from Mason Mount's point of view kind of secures him and gives him the ability to perhaps go for something better. And at the same time, if he wants to leave Chelsea Football Club down the track, if ever, I don't know, then it kind of allows him to have a better sort of strength, I suppose, in the contract. The longer the contract, the less strength the player has, the more strength, the more power the club, your owning club kind of has. The shorter the contract, more power the player has, much like what's happened with Declan Rice at the moment. Declan Rice can't seem to do anything because he had a long-term contract with West Ham with an option of 1 more year extension. So, but from Chelsea's point of view, we need to calm down with these long-term contracts, man, because if this player goes south. Touchwood, he doesn't. But for instance, he does. Turns out to be something like that Dele Alli sort of situation. I don't know if you guys remember, there was a particular Blackburn player a long time ago who then moved to Spurs. This is going back a while. This is me showing my age at the moment. David Bentley. I don't know if you guys remember David Bentley. David Bentley was a particular player that had a unbelievable rise to stardom from Blackburn, and they were touting him to be the next David Beckham, this, that, the other. And once David Bentley then moved from Blackburn to Spurs, it kind of all started going south. And before you knew it, David Bentley's career just disappeared. So look, I'm just saying that we need to be careful. We have to be very careful when sending out these long-term contracts. Do you know what I mean? So from both sides, I think Mason Mount has done the right thing for not agreeing or rejecting apparently the 7-year contract term. He's probably looking for something a bit shorter, perhaps a 5-year contract with a bumper pay rise. That's probably the right way to go about. Now, in regards to let's talk about Mason Mount as a player. Let's talk about whether does he absolutely deserve a contract extension. In my opinion, he at least deserves a contract extension. But let's talk about the player himself now. Let's talk about the player himself, right? Before we do that, let's take some of your comments. We'll talk about the player very, very soon. I understand 7-year contract for RJ. He's definitely world-class or close to it. Future captain, absolutely spot on. That's the level of player that you want to probably tie down for a long term. He is proper world-class player. But for Mount, I would have to say 5 years. He still has ways to go to get better a lot. Absolutely agree. Jensen saying, if we get Rice, we'll see more Mount and Rice smiling highlights than goals. Ray Allen saying, David Bentley is better than Mount too. Man, but David Bentley went south quick. He went south quick. Before you knew it, like his career was over. Like he was a sensation in Blackburn, and then he went to Spurs, and within like 4 or 5 seasons, his career disappeared. Like he was gone. Chelsea fans complain about literally everything. Laugh my ass off. Mount doesn't deserve a contract extension. I think it's nice. We want to renew his contract. I want him to stay, but need to be more consistent. Okay, now let's talk about Mason Mount. Let's talk about Mason Mount defensively and offensively, and let's try and work things out. Off the ball, from a defensive point of view, Mason Mount works hard in terms of pressing. He predominantly wins his duels, whether it's on the ground, whether it's in aerially. Like he's very, like when it comes to combat, like he's strong. He's there. Like I've never seen him shy away from a challenge. Do you know what I mean? Like he's probably one guy, if you pass the ball, he's going to be able to shield the ball. And without the ball as well, if it's a 50-50 opportunity, Mason Mount's going to be there and he's going to get into that duel and he's going to win. And you know what? This trait, you might sit there and go, who cares? No, it's actually quite important because there's a lot of Chelsea players right now who don't put themselves around and who don't win their ground duels and their aerial duels often enough. Press as well. Intensity is always there in terms of he can play for the entire 90 minutes. Defensively, as I said, he's a strong lad. Positionally, more times than none, he's quite aware as to what's going on. So from that side of things, he's okay. I wouldn't say he's like some sort of an elite off-the-ball player that defensively adds a lot of venom to us. Probably won't go that far, but he's a decent off-the-ball player. There's no doubt about that. Now, offensively, he definitely has in his locker to find key passes. He definitely does. He's versatile. He can he's been tried in every position. Right wing, left wing, false 9, number 10, 8, 6, in the double pivot as well. At times we've seen in recent times, whether it's Thomas Tuchel, whether it's Graham Potter. Whether they've happened by coincidence because other players were injured, that's by the by. Versatile. He definitely has the ability to find key passes. We've seen it. We have seen it. We can't sit here and go, nah, Miz, what are you talking about? He can't produce passes. No, we have. Champions League final, many other matches, we've seen him produce those passes. In recent times, I remember against AC Milan, a couple of those games, he produced some really good passes. But he doesn't produce it on a regular basis. It's not like, I wouldn't say he's a Cesc Fabregas kind of a player. He's not like a key pass monster. He's not like a Juan Mata. Do you know what I mean? Some of the players that we've had in our time. He ain't like a dribbling monster either. He's not like Eden Hazard. He can dribble at times. He's got a good half turn. He can half turn and beat players. We've seen him do that. He can chip in with goals. It's not like he's an elite goal scoring machine as well. Like, we've seen him miss opportunities. There's no doubt about that. Most notable ones are last year's FA Cup and Carling Cup, Carabao Cup, whatever you want to call it. But he can chip in with goals. He can score some key goals. We know what he did in that Champions League run, FC Porto. We know in the Premier League that season, Liverpool. And there's been many other instances as well. Like, we know he can score goals, but he's not an elite level goal scorer. Someone who's ruthless in front of goal. He's not that. So, bottom line, he's someone who's got value. But as I've said in recent times, and this is where the middle ground is, ladies and gentlemen, and I really want to hear what you guys have to say about this, because I'm going to start taking up some comments from the live chat very, very soon. 150 of you guys are live right now. Smash the like button. Get these likes up. Let's get the likes up to 100 immediately. Mason Mount, if he was a player back in the days when we had Oscar, when we had Mata, when we had Cesc Fabregas, when we had Eden Hazard, if we go even further back, Frank Lampard, Ballack, and many more, Mason Mount would probably be a bench player, coming off the bench, impact player. And he would have a solid impact. He would be a rotational player during that time. And this is my honest opinion. I'm talking about back then. Right now, the team isn't good enough. Right now, Mason Mount, he's seen, last 2 seasons, player of the season. 2 seasons ago, when he was player of the season, I think he definitely deserved it. He had a sensational season. But had we had those level of players, Mason Mount probably wouldn't be around that area. Last season, I think Mason Mount won it in default. Last season, we didn't even have a good season. Some would even argue that maybe Thiago Silva should have got the player of the season last season. Some would say other players as well. But it was a poor season. That's why no one knew who was going to get it. And I think Mason Mount just by default won. As I keep saying, if we had those caliber of players, I think Mason Mount, at best, he would still make it to the bench. He would be a rotational player. He would be from the bench, and he would do a stupendous job for Chelsea Football Club. But right now, we don't have those caliber of players. The other factor about Mason Mount is, and I think the reason why he gets selected a lot and frequent is his character, is the way he trains. He's the best trainer out there. Recently, you know what Yunus said in his video. He is the one who puts in 100% in the training ground. This is probably why, managers like Frank Lampard liked Mason Mount anyway, regardless. He really, really liked Mason Mount. So it didn't even matter about training ground or anything. He just loved this kid's attitude, the way he went about it. And this is the thing. Mason Mount's character is a sensational character, probably one of the best characters we've seen at Chelsea Football Club. Attitude, rarely involved in any sort of controversial matters, well-spoken. And as I said, he trains hard. He trains really hard. He sets the standards in training. So that's the other positive. And one other main positive is Mason Mount is always available. He's always available. And that's a very, very big factor. To be available and not be injured and this is why Mason Mount gets to play, nearly 60 matches per season. But overall, We've seen it. We've seen it over the last probably, what, 12 months to about 16 months. We've seen it. How many times have we said here in the watch along, man, we need a bit more. We need a bit more from that position, from that player. And I know today we're just talking about Mason Mount. There's other players as well, man. There's other players that are probably worse. But that's for a different day. I'm talking about Mount today, right? We've sat here and said we need more, and we just couldn't see that more. We've seen bits and pieces here and there this season, especially when Graham Potter took over this season. That block of matches, AC Milan, couple of matches, Wolves. He looked sensational, Mason Mount. It got to a point where you couldn't drop Mason Mount. You couldn't. And I said, after those two matches against AC Milan and the Wolves one, I said, you know what? The first name that comes into the mind in the team sheet is Mason Mount. But again, after that, Mason Mount dipped. Also, the team dipped. And this is the thing. This is the thing about Mason Mount that I feel. I think he's definitely a Chelsea level player. There's no doubt about that. He is a Chelsea level player. But I don't think he's that sensation that we think, some of us think. I can even see in this live chats, a lot of people are saying, oh, Mason Mount lives rent-free. These are the people that I'm talking about, that have him in such a pedestal, which is very, very, it's not the right way to look at it. It's unbalanced. Do you know what I mean? It's borderline at times ridiculous. And then there's people that look at him in a very demeaning way, in a very degrading way. That ain't right either. Honestly, if you're a balanced person in the live chat, nearly 170 of you guys are live right now. Everything that I've said, if you look back, I don't think you can complain. What I've just said is a very balanced level. Not overhyping him, not underplaying him. It's literally the balance level. And that's just my my perspective about Mason Mount. So in regards to him getting his contract extension, I'm all okay with it. But we need quality. We need quality in and around him. We need badly quality in and around him. All right, let's have a look at what you guys have to say. There's a lot of people in this live chat. I'm just going to say, please be respectful when you're commenting, because if you're not, the people that have that are the mods in the live chat, and even myself, I will block you out. If you're not respectful, not just to me, but to people within the live chat, I'm just going to block you out, because this is the thing about Mason Mount. People that want to talk sensibly will get shut down immediately by reckless fans, by fanatics that don't want to. They talk about Mason Mount like this with their eyes closed. Be sensible. That's all I'm going to say, and we'll go from there. Okay. I admit that Mount is inconsistent, but he gets too much hate for no reason. No, I agree, 100% agree. The hate towards Mason Mount is unnecessary. It's uncalled for. It's unwarranted, not required. But being critical about Mason Mount is very important as well, because there's a lot of people that don't hate, who aren't critical. They go and hype him up like he's a phenomenal sensation. He's some sort of a, like, there are literally people in the Chelsea fan base, I kid you not, will tell you Mason Mount is an elite creator, and then they'll throw stats at your face. He's not. He's simply not an elite level creator. Let's be honest. There are people in the Chelsea fan base that will compare him to KDB. And that's where I feel this is why you attract hate. I've seen few people talk about Johnny Minerals. He's the kind of people that attracts hate towards Mason Mount, because he's so outlandish. He's so outlandish with his takes about Mason Mount. You've got to be balanced, man. As I said, I think there is absolute good value for Mason Mount. But I think if you look back in our olden days, the caliber of players that we used to have, just think for a second. Just ask yourself, does Mason Mount start in those teams? He would potentially make the bench and he would be a great impact player, but he wouldn't start. Simple as that. But then again, he's young, and I hope he develops. I hope he continues to develop. But in the last 12 to 16 months or so, I don't think it's been the same for him. I really don't think he's developed. Ask some of the rival fans. I don't know how many of you guys watch Big Six. There are some really, really good opinions there. And I know sometimes it's a lot of banter, a lot of craziness that happens over there, which is great entertainment. But there's some really, really good points at times. Recently, I've heard Tobes really make some very good comments about Mason Mount. I've even heard a few other chaps over there that have made some really good comments about Mason Mount. But for example, like someone like Grizz and even James Redmond, who've said they'd take Mason Mount in Liverpool because his characteristic, as I said, mentioned earlier on, I think he's in terms of his skill set, it's like a James Milner kind of a skill set. James Milner plays for Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? And this is no disrespect. James Milner is a damn good player. James Milner have a look at his history in the Premier League. The man's got nearly over 600 Premier League games or something like that. The man is a beast. He's won everything everywhere. Man City, I'm pretty certain he's won stuff at Man City. Liverpool, obviously. Mason Mount reminds me of that caliber of a player. I think one of the problems with Mount is his progress has stagnated. Any player with ambitions of being the best need good competition to bring out the best in them. Lampard had it, JT had it. Exactly. I absolutely agree, man. Absolutely agree. Sure, bro. Good to see you. Now, Johnny will clip you, Miz. Another content for him. Such a cheap way to generate content. Oh, so be it, man. Who cares? If that's what he wants to do, good on him, man. Good on him. Hey, if that's what helps you out and your channel, go for it, man. Go for it. As long as you don't slander, as long as you don't insult, which I know Johnny does. Yeah, I'm happy for you to counter, but just stay away from the insults. No need to insult me as an individual. I think we all have the right to have our opinion. That's how I look at it. Reece James is playing in the same team but looks world-class every time he steps on the pitch, but Mount needs better players around him to shine. Lol, y'all hilarious. That in itself, Mish, that in itself is the difference, isn't it? Reece James himself lifts the team. That's why he's world-class. Mason Mount on his during this tumultuous time that Chelsea Football Club has been going through, where was Mason Mount? Where was Mason Mount against Arsenal? Where was Mason Mount against Brighton? Where was Mason Mount against whoever else that we've played recently? He was a ghost, much like all the other players. But Reece James, how many times Reece James has won matches for us by himself, regardless of how the team played? That's the difference. This is the difference between the two players. And I'm not having a go. You can't expect every player to be world-class. But we need to appreciate and accept the difference between the two players. Mount does need better players around him. Mount needs great players around him, so his level rises as well. Reece, on the other side, he rises the levels of others because he is at an elite level. Adrian Miss, thoughts on the Paul Winstonley news? Seems like he's a real big recruitment guy we've brought in, since the others are more involved in building with a multi-club model. Yeah, look, it's fantastic. Look, I don't completely understand all of these multi-dimensional structures and all the different recruitments we're doing off-field. Bottom line, fantastic. It seems like we have a plan. It seems like Todd Bowley wants to create a good structure. Just do your job. Just do your job. Come January, I need players in, and I need some quality players in, and I need players that are going to fit Graham Potter's model. That's all I care about. That's all I really care about. Explosive. We'll take a few more comments and then we'll wrap things up. Let me know how you feel about Mason, man. Everything that we've talked about, contract extension, pros and cons about his game. Him getting insulted, slandered, him getting hyped. Where do you see him, his development? Where do you see him in the future? Let's take some final few more comments and we'll wrap things up. Before we do that, 39 more likes to get to 100. It would be lovely to get 100 likes during the live stream. As I said, anything more than that is a bonus. So let's smash the like button and get those likes up to 100. And if you're here for the first time, subscribe as well. The likes are crucial to the growth of the channel. Explosive. I do feel bad for Mason. His development has been affected by the fact he's played in attack out of position due to our very poor offensive player performances. He's a midfielder, not A20 goal and assist, left wing, right wing. You're right. Yeah, he's a midfielder. I personally think he's a midfielder in a three-man midfield and someone who's a little bit deeper. I rather him focus on his defensive side of game and his ball playing ability, and then really hone in on getting into the box late and banging in those goals with good shooting technique. I rather him that. I rather him be industrious with the ball. Do you know what I mean? Very technical with the ball. One-touch passing. Consistently looking for key passes. Do you know what I mean? Controlling the tempo, whether it needs to be fast, slow, controlling the tempo in midfield. I'd rather him that type of a player. Off the ball, help out defensively. I think now lately he's more focused on, I want to go up there and I want to score, I want to assist. And I just don't think he's that player, man. I just don't think he's that player. As I said, James Milner. What's wrong with James Milner, man? There's nothing. Look how well James Milner's doing, Liverpool. Maybe not now. Now he's getting older, but, look at James Milner in Man City. Look at James Milner early days in Liverpool. I know going further back to his Newcastle days, his Aston Villa days, he was probably a winger back then, had a lot more pace about him. But especially Man City and the Liverpool early days, why not? Why not? Yeah, he's got the energy to do that. Bowley needs to stop these 70 contracts. It sounds good on paper, but in football, things change quickly. These contracts can financially put the club in trouble. Exactly, man. If a player dips and you've got a 7-year contract, it's going to be very difficult to get rid of that player. Let's just put it that way. But you'd assume that the player won't dip and the player will get better, and it only protects the value of the player. So if the player ever wants to go anywhere else, we could potentially make a lot of money out of him. Only 22 more likes left, ladies and gentlemen, to get to 100. It would be much appreciated if we can get to 100 likes immediately whilst we take some more final comments. Miz, we keep saying these players must be quality and consistent, yet the team itself isn't consistent. Constant changes and tactics. These players are human. Mason is humble. Look at his World Cup message. Yeah, look, as I said, man, like in terms of his character, I think in terms of a lot of our players and their characters, they're good, humble people. Like you would have seen what Yunus said about Christian Pulisic. Shy, seems very humble. But at the end of the day, I need 3 points. You having a humble character, that's kudos to you. That's well done. And that's a tick mark for sure. But I'm in the business of getting 3 points and hopefully some titles down the track. So that's how we as fans need to think about it as well, man. Or else sooner, very, very soon, the club is, as I said, the video that we've recently done with Ryan. The only thing, there's 4 pillars. There's 4 pillars of Chelsea, right? Owner, manager, players, fans. Right now, we have an owner that doesn't really know Chelsea. He's new. We have a manager that definitely doesn't know Chelsea. who seems to still carry a little bit of Brighton vibe with him. Hopefully that will change. We've got a lot of players that probably don't care about Chelsea. The only pillar right now that knows Chelsea inside out is the fans. And once this pillar also forgets what Chelsea is all about, that's when you're going to see an epic decline. So it's that. We're going to leave it at that. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this, ladies and gentlemen, and smash the like button if you have. People who have just tuned in now, you can comment in the comment section. 14 likes away from 100 likes. As I said, if you've enjoyed this, smash the like button. If you're here for the first time, subscribe. Hit the bell notification to stay in touch with all my content. Till next time. See ya.